Types of people you should not help when you are getting older. As we get older, the way we interact with the world around us starts to change. We become more selective with how we spend our time and energy, especially when it comes to the people we help. But here's the thing, not everyone deserves your help, and not everyone will appreciate it. In fact, there are certain types of people who will drain you, take advantage of your kindness, and leave you with nothing but frustration. You might be thinking, I'm just being kind, but over time, giving too much of yourself can have serious consequences. So how do you know when it's time to stop offering help? Today, we're diving into the types of people you should avoid helping as you get older. These are the individuals who could be hurting your mental and emotional well-being without you even realizing it. But before we dive in, if you want more videos like this one, be sure to hit that subscribe button and let us know where you're watching from today. Are you joining us from across the globe or right down the street? We'd love to hear from you in the comments. The first one on the list is the energy vampires. We've all encountered them at some point. Those people who seem to have an endless well of needs, but no matter how much you give, they never seem satisfied. These are the energy vampires, the ones who, without meaning to, sap the life and enthusiasm right out of you. At first, it might seem harmless. Maybe you're happy to help with a small task here and there. But soon, it becomes a pattern. They call, text, or show up at your door asking for one more favor, another bit of assistance, or even just someone to listen to their problems. Again, the worst part? They rarely offer anything in return. And even if they do, it's usually fleeting. Over time, you start to notice that after spending time with them, you feel drained, tired, and emotionally exhausted. It's not just the physical act of helping that's draining, it's the constant emotional toll. You begin to realize that these people are taking up space in your life, leaving you with little room for yourself. As you get older, your energy becomes more valuable. You can't afford to waste it on those who don't appreciate it or, worse, never even ask how you're doing in return. What makes these energy vampires particularly insidious is how they're often disguised as needy or vulnerable individuals, making it hard to say no. You might feel guilty, thinking that helping them is just part of being a good person. But the truth is, constantly giving in to their demands doesn't make you a good person. It makes you a target for their energy drain. The longer you continue to feed into this pattern, the more you'll notice how little you have left to give to the people who genuinely care about you and support you. Recognizing the signs early is key. Start by noticing how you feel after spending time with them. Do you feel lighter, happier, and more energized? Or are you left feeling exhausted and depleted? Learning to identify these toxic patterns and putting up boundaries is one of the most important steps in protecting your well-being as you get older. The second is the entitled ones. We all know people who believe they are entitled to your time, resources, or help, no matter the situation. These are the entitled ones, the individuals who don't ask but assume that you'll be available whenever they need you. They often show little or no appreciation for what you do for them, and in fact, they expect you to drop everything to fulfill their needs. You might have been there for them once or twice, but as time goes on, it starts to feel like a never-ending pattern where their expectations only grow, while your energy and patience dwindle. At first, it may not seem so bad. After all, you're helping a friend or family member, right? But over time, these people start treating your time as if it's theirs to take, without regard for your personal needs, health, or priorities. They don't see the effort you're putting in. They just see an open door and walk right through it, assuming you'll always be there to help. For example, maybe they ask for help with a small task today, and tomorrow, it's something bigger. They might even guilt trip you into saying yes, claiming that you've always been there for me or you owe it to me. Remember that time I helped you. What's dangerous about this type of behavior is that it's easy to fall into a trap of constantly accommodating them. You might feel guilty or pressure to keep saying yes, even when you know you're stretched thin. The real issue here is that their sense of entitlement doesn't allow for balance. They see your willingness to help as a giver, not something that should be reciprocated or even acknowledged. They will take, without ever considering the toll it's taking on you. As you get older, your ability to give freely and endlessly becomes more limited. Your physical and emotional energy isn't infinite, and you shouldn't feel obligated to prioritize someone else's convenience over your own well-being. Setting boundaries with entitled people is absolutely necessary, and while it might feel uncomfortable at first, it's important to realize that your worth doesn't come from how much you can give or how much you can accommodate others. Your time and energy are precious, and they should be valued, not taken for granted. Recognizing when you're dealing with an entitled person is crucial. Are they respectful of your time? Do they appreciate what you do for them? Or do they act like it's your job to serve their every need? Learning to say no and stand firm in your boundaries is one of the most empowering things you can do, especially as you age. It's about protecting your resources, your energy, and your peace of mind. The more you can cut out these entitled individuals, the more you'll make room for healthy, mutually respectful relationships that add value to your life. Another one is the manipulators. Manipulation can be one of the trickiest forms of toxic behavior to recognize, especially because it often comes disguised as helping or caring. Manipulators know how to play on your emotions to get what they want, using guilt, pressure, and emotional appeals to twist your arm into offering help, even when it's not in your best interest. These people are masters at making you feel like you're a bad person if you say no. They may make you feel responsible for their happiness, or they might use your kindness to their advantage, making you believe that helping them is something you must do. Imagine someone constantly using phrases like, "You're the only one who can help me," or "I don't know what I would do without you." These manipulative tactics are designed to make you feel indispensable, like they can't survive without your help. And when you do help, you'll often find that they never truly appreciate it or change their behavior. It's a cycle that repeats, each time with you giving more and them taking more, all while making you feel like the bad guy when you start to pull away. Manipulators often use emotional pressure, leveraging your guilt and compassion to get what they want. They might try to play on your fears, saying things like, "I don't know how I'm going to get by without you," or "I really need your help, and you're the only one who can do this for me." While these pleas may seem sincere on the surface, they're really just tactics designed to keep you stuck in a loop of helping, without ever seeing a change in the other person's behavior. Over time, this can be incredibly draining, as you realize that no matter how much you give, they will always find a new way to pull you back in. The worst part is, manipulators rarely take responsibility for their actions. Instead, they'll turn the tables and make you feel like the one at fault if you don't comply. You'll end up constantly second-guessing your own needs, wondering if you're being too harsh or selfish by saying no. But here's the truth. Helping someone who is using you for their own gain doesn't benefit either of you. In fact, it enables their toxic behavior and puts you in a position where you're no longer acting out of genuine care, but out of obligation and guilt. So, have you ever encountered someone like this? Someone who always seems to need you but never truly acknowledges your efforts. Have you been caught in a situation where you felt like you had no choice but to give in to their emotional pleas? Let us know in the comments below if you've experienced a manipulative person in your life. We'd love to hear your story. And keep listening because we're about to dive into even more types of people you should avoid helping, as we continue to uncover how to protect your energy and well-being as you get older. The fourth one is the self-sufficient but lazy. This group is particularly tricky because they appear to be capable. After all, they can take care of themselves when they want to. But here's the catch. They're not interested in doing things for themselves when it's easier to rely on others. These people fall into a habit of taking advantage of your willingness to help, even when they have the skills and resources to solve the problem on their own. They know you're always there, ready to pitch in, so they take the easy route and ask you to handle things for them, rather than putting in the effort themselves. At first, helping them out might seem harmless. Maybe it's just lending a hand with a chore, running an errand, or offering advice on a project. But when you start doing things for them regularly, it can become clear that they're not really trying to improve their situation. They're just becoming more and more dependent on your support. Over time, this behavior shifts from being a simple favor to an unhealthy pattern where you're essentially doing their work for them. You're not helping them grow, you're enabling them to avoid their responsibilities. The danger in helping these self-sufficient but lazy individuals is that you're feeding into their habit of taking shortcuts. It's easy to see why it feels good to help someone who is capable but just too lazy to put in the effort themselves. After all, you want to be helpful and kind, but over time, this kind of enabling actually does more harm than good. By stepping in and doing things for them, you're not teaching them responsibility or self-sufficiency. You're giving them permission to avoid the work they should be doing. And the longer you continue to help them without seeing any real effort on their part, the more you risk feeling resentful. As you age, it becomes especially important to avoid these types of relationships because they drain your energy without ever showing any progress. Helping people should feel rewarding, not like an endless loop of picking up the slack for someone who could easily do it themselves. It's essential to recognize when someone is truly struggling and needs support versus when someone is just being lazy and using you as a crutch. One way to approach this is to evaluate the situation honestly. Is the person truly unable to handle the task? Or are they simply asking because it's easier than doing it themselves? If they're capable, but consistently avoid taking responsibility, it's time to step back and let them face the consequences of their actions, or lack thereof. It's not about being cruel, it's about allowing them the opportunity to learn and grow, which they'll never do if you're always stepping in to rescue them. Have you encountered someone like this in your life? Someone who can do it all but chooses not to, relying on you to do the heavy lifting? Let us know in the comments. Let's talk about the always complaining types. There are certain people in life who seem to constantly have something negative to say. No matter how good things are, they always find a reason to complain, whether it's about their job, their relationships, their finances, or just life in general. These individuals have a perspective that's locked in negativity, and no matter how much you help or listen, it feels like nothing ever improves. Helping them can start to feel like a never-ending cycle where the more you give, the more you get back. Well, nothing of substance. At first, you might think they just need someone to vent to. After all, we all need a little support when life gets tough. But when you're dealing with someone who's perpetually unhappy, it's draining. They might bring up the same complaints over and over again without making any effort to change or improve their situation. No matter what advice you give or how many solutions you suggest, it seems like they're always stuck in their own misery, feeding on your emotional energy. The problem with constantly trying to help these types of people is that it becomes emotionally exhausting. They don't just need help, they need someone to listen, validate their feelings, and affirm their dissatisfaction. Every conversation with them feels like it's centered around their complaints, leaving you with little room to share your own feelings or experiences. After a while, this one-sided dynamic starts to feel overwhelming. You begin to wonder if your efforts are even making a difference, and whether they're truly benefiting from your help, or simply wallowing in their own unhappiness. As you get older, your capacity for dealing with negativity becomes much more limited. Constantly engaging with people who refuse to take responsibility for their own happiness can wear you down. You might find yourself trying to fix things that are beyond your control or giving advice that's ignored. The truth is, you can't fix everyone's problems, especially when they don't want to change. Their inability to see the good around them or take action toward improvement makes the act of helping feel futile. What's more, spending too much time with these people can begin to affect your own mindset. You might start to feel discouraged or down because you're surrounded by constant complaining. Even the smallest issue they encounter feels blown out of proportion, and it starts to seem like there's no end to their discontent. This emotional toll can take a significant toll on your mental well-being, especially when you're already juggling other responsibilities and concerns in your own life. Recognizing when you're dealing with a chronic complainer is key. You can offer support and empathy, but if the pattern continues without any effort on their part to change their circumstances, it's time to pull back. Protect your own emotional energy by setting boundaries. It's okay to say, "I understand you're going through a tough time, but I can't continue to focus on the same issues over and over. Let's talk about solutions instead of just complaints." There are people in our life who just seems to complain constantly, no matter how much you try to help. How did you handle it? Let us know in the comments. Are you still enjoying this breakdown? If so, let us know in the comments, and make sure to stay tuned as we dive into the final type of people to watch out for as you get older. Now, let's talk about the people who never seem to change. These are the individuals who keep repeating the same mistakes over and over, never learning from their experiences or making any real effort to improve their situation. It can be incredibly frustrating to watch someone continually struggle with the same issues, only to ask for your help again and again, despite never taking any steps to fix the root of the problem. They might seek your advice, ask for your support, and promise that they'll change, but deep down, you know they're not going to follow through. These types of people have a habit of stagnating in their own lives. They'll tell you the same sob stories, offer the same excuses, and make the same promises. But no matter how much you help, no matter how much you try to guide them, nothing changes. They stay stuck in the same unhealthy patterns, whether it's poor decision-making, unresolved personal issues, or bad habits. It becomes a repetitive cycle, with you playing the role of the fixer, trying to offer solutions that they never act on. Over time, it can be incredibly disheartening. You start to feel like you're wasting your time and energy, putting your own life on hold to help someone who isn't doing the work themselves. The problem is that these individuals don't see their need for change. They're often unaware of how their actions affect others, or they may even make excuses for their behavior, always blaming external factors rather than taking accountability. The more you try to help, the more you realize that it's not your responsibility to change them, especially if they don't want to change themselves. While it's natural to want to help others grow and improve, you can't force someone to change if they're not ready to put in the effort. As you get older, your patience and energy for this type of relationship will naturally start to diminish. You'll recognize that you can't keep investing in someone who isn't willing to meet you halfway. It's important to remember that true help comes when someone is open to change and actively works toward it. If they're not willing to change, then continuing to help them only results in frustration for both parties. The key here is knowing when to stop. When you see that someone is stuck in a never-ending cycle of self-sabotage or bad decisions without any intention to break the pattern, it's time to step back. You can still offer support from a distance, but you have to recognize that change can only happen if they make the decision to take responsibility for their own growth. Have you had someone in your life who always promised to change but never did? How did you handle it? Let us know in the comments below, and keep listening because we're wrapping up soon with some key takeaways on how to protect your time and energy as you grow older and more discerning in the relationships you nurture. As we've explored today, it becomes more and more important to set boundaries as we age. Your time, energy, and emotional resources are limited, and the people you choose to help or invest your time in can have a significant impact on your well-being. Understanding which types of people should be avoided or distanced from is crucial in maintaining your mental, emotional, and even physical health. But setting boundaries isn't about being selfish or mean. It's about self-care and recognizing that, in order to continue being your best self, you need to prioritize your energy and peace. Throughout this video, we've gone over 6 types of people you should avoid helping as you grow older. These are the individuals who can subtly or overtly drain your energy, take advantage of your kindness, and leave you feeling empty or frustrated. Whether they're energy vampires, entitled, manipulative, self-sufficient but lazy, always complaining, or stuck in an endless cycle of not changing, they all have one thing in common. They can drain you without you even realizing it, especially when you're too focused on giving. The energy vampires are often the hardest to spot because they don't demand in an obvious way. They might appear like they need help, but they end up leaving you emotionally drained, exhausted, and feeling as if your kindness is being taken for granted. These people slowly wear you down by sucking the life out of you, never offering anything in return. Recognizing these types of relationships early is key to preserving your energy. Don't feel guilty about walking away from someone who constantly takes and never gives. In fact, you should feel empowered to say no and protect your energy. The entitled ones are the individuals who feel like you owe them your time, your resources, and your help. They often make demands without even asking, expecting you to accommodate them without any thought for your own needs. These people often make you feel bad for not giving them what they want. But here's the truth. No one is entitled to your time or your help. Just because someone has been a part of your life for a while doesn't mean you owe them an unlimited supply of support. Setting boundaries with entitled individuals may be uncomfortable at first, but it's necessary for your well-being and your mental peace. Next, we have the manipulators, the most subtle and insidious type of people. They use guilt, emotional pressure, and even lies to get you to do things for them. These people play on your emotions, making you feel like you have to help them, or that they'll suffer if you don't. Manipulation is toxic, and it's important to recognize these behaviors as early as possible. Whether it's a friend who constantly uses your compassion to get their way or a family member who makes you feel guilty for not offering more, it's vital to recognize manipulation and refuse to feed into it. You are not responsible for fixing someone else's life, and you certainly shouldn't feel guilty for taking care of your own needs. The self-sufficient but lazy people are perhaps the most frustrating. These individuals have the ability to help themselves but prefer to take the easy way out by leaning on you. They rely on your kindness, not because they need it, but because they don't want to put in the effort themselves. This behavior can easily slip into a pattern, with you doing things for them that they could easily do on their own. And while it may seem like you're just being helpful, you're actually enabling them to stay lazy and avoid taking responsibility for their own lives. Helping someone should be about lifting them up and encouraging their growth. If they're capable but unwilling, it's time to step back. The always complaining types are the people who are stuck in a perpetual state of dissatisfaction. They constantly talk about what's wrong in their lives, but rarely make any changes. You might try to help by offering solutions, but they never seem to take any of your advice. They continue to wallow in negativity, pulling you into their emotional spiral. While it's natural to want to help someone who is struggling, constantly surrounding yourself with negativity can be emotionally exhausting. There's only so much you can do before you realize that they're not interested in fixing their situation. They just want to complain. It's okay to distance yourself from these people, even if they're close to you. You have every right to protect your emotional energy and set boundaries with those who refuse to look for solutions. Lastly, we have the people who never change, the ones who continue to repeat. Self-care is not just about physical health. It's about mental and emotional health too. As you navigate relationships, ask yourself, does this person add value to my life, or are they just taking from me? If they're not adding value, it's okay to step back. You have the right to prioritize your own happiness and well-being. It's okay to say no. It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to focus on relationships that uplift you. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever encountered any of these types of people in your life? Maybe you've dealt with an energy vampire, an entitled person, or someone who's always complaining. We'd love to hear your experiences and how you handled it. Drop a comment below and share your story with us. It's important to know that you're not alone in facing these types of relationships, and hearing your experiences could really help others who might be going through something similar. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you never miss another video. We've got more valuable insights on how to protect your peace, set healthy boundaries, and live a fulfilling life as you get older. Plus, we've got plenty of content that will help you navigate the challenges of relationships, self-care, and personal growth. Thanks for watching, and remember, your time is precious. Spend it wisely.